Hello, it's me again. Today we're going to be talking about something that is very important and serious. And that being about Salamanders. I mean, what even are these things anyway? Probably some insane lunatics out there would say something along the lines of
Salamanders are a group of amphibians typically characterized by their lizard-like appearance with slender bodies, blunt snouts, short limbs, projecting at right angles to the body, and the presence of tailing both body and handles.
Luckily for you, I do know a thing or two about salamanders. In fact, Salamander is an arcade game released back in 1986 by Konami. This is actually a spin-off of Gradius, and that game came out a year ago. The most notable difference is that Salamander uses a much more conventional power-up system. You know, where you shoot the guy, get the power, shoot the guy, get the power, so forth, so fifths, so sixths, and so sevenths. Now, probably some of you might think that Salamander looks familiar to you. That's because in the States, it was renamed to Life Force, which to me, it sounds like you're playing as some kind of intergalactic paramedic, though then again, the original game is called Salamanders, so I don't know. Though interestingly enough, some of the console ports actually changed the power-up system, where they basically made it to where it's exactly like Gradius. And honestly, that's a good thing. It makes the game a lot less generic feeling. And dare I say, the NES music actually sounds a lot better than the arcade version.
Up for multiple.
I don't know. There's something about the arcade soundtrack that's just missing the oomph. And on the topic of music, here's the PC Engine version. It actually sounds really good. It even looks and plays the part. Except for the slight vertical shifting that a lot of PC Engine games like to do. Some resolution, I don't fucking know, man. But we aren't going to be talking about these two versions. We're going to be talking about a better version. And for that, we need the most sophisticated hardware. Like the MS motherfucking X. Dear God, something's wrong with my MSX. Give me just a sec. So yeah, it seems like my MSX doesn't seem like it's working properly. But that's okay, because we have an alternative. And it's called Obey the Basics. It's even got a little penguin on it. Now that we're guaranteed to have good audio, let's just zoom in the old footage so you don't have to see my disgusting background. Now we can actually hear what it's really supposed to sound like. Now that's perfect! Speaking of intro animations, here's the Famicom version. Then the PC Engine version. And the North American NES version. Yeah, we get nothing. But what MSX owners do get is a story. Basically, the planet Lattice is in trouble because of the Zelios Force, and it's up to the two pilots Iggy Rock and Zowie Scott to save them. Can these two brave pilots save planet Lattice? Well, find out in this fantastic space adventure. Absolutely fantastic! And as you can already tell, this isn't your ordinary Salamander port. It's actually an original game. And it also uses the Gradius style of selecting your power-ups, meaning you actually get a pretty robust arsenal of weapons to choose from. And my god, these weapons are seriously over-exaggerated. I mean, look at the ripple laser. It's like the whole screen. Oh yeah, and you can actually have up to 4 options. Ooh. And this is running on weaker hardware, mind you. It's weaker than the NES. Well, but because this is a computer, it can actually be a lot powerful than this, but I'm just saying. There's a mechanic.
Exclusive to the MSX version.
Certain ground enemies will release these energy icons. You collect enough of these and you might unlock a brand spanking new weapon to choose. Asses. But you know what's so great about the MSX version? The fucking music. On an 8-bit machine of all things. Well, I'll tell you. Salamander contains a special superpower chip, as well as a couple of other Konami games at the time, to produce this amazing sound. And that chip being the Konami Sound Creative Chip, or Konami SCC for short. It enables Konami developers to play with 5 extra wavetable channels, along with the 3 PSG channels that come with the MSX.
Pretty cool, huh?
Despite the sound being absolutely amazing, it still doesn't save it from it being a very choppy experience. And when I say choppy, I mean, oh god, it's choppy! Especially since majority of this game is composed of background assets. And not to mention that the good old MSX1 does not have that fancy smancy background scrolling. They only introduced it when the MSX2 came out. So yeah, the scrolling is super disorientating. Because of the choppiness, it sometimes feels like you just spawned into the terrain rather than you crashing into it. And to make matters worse, things that are drawn in the background sprite have these chunky borders around the sprite. This issue also applies for the special weapons you can collect. Because those are also drawn in the background, you can basically cover the entire screen just from you shooting alone. Well, at least on the brighter side, the bosses are actually pretty easy, even if they fill a big chunk of the screen.
In order to neutralize these bad foes, you must defeat them by shooting them at the weak point, conveniently indicated by the energy bars.
Pretty straightforward, right? Well, not every boss in this game have the obvious weak points. But that's okay, because if you choose the ripple laser, the hitbox on that thing is huge. So I'd say that's my go-to weapon in this game. Sounds fine and dandy, right?
Until you reach the final boss!
Which looks like a translucent testicle. Other than that, pretty easy to beat, especially when you have those handy-dandy options. Now we can go on to the real final boss. Here I am, shooting the thing. Aha! Something just opened? But how do I get down there? Now, the last boss in the game has a very big problem. And it's got to do with how big the boss actually is. It literally fills the entire screen. And you would think the weakness would be to destroy all the energy balls. But no matter what you do, the boss is never going to move. So basically, the first couple of seconds of this boss fight is your only chance to get it right. And by the time you actually found the right core, tough tits. But let's say you actually did find it the first time round.
We have set all the crush blow systems! Go!
What? Well, it turns out I got the bad ending. And that's because I forgot to buy the good ending. That's right, you have to buy the good ending. Now, what do I mean by buying the good ending? Well, it means that you're required to have another game plugged into the second cartridge port to get the good ending. And oh, not just any game, but you have to go run down to the store and get yourself a copy of
Nemesis 2!
Another great MSX game. But unfortunately, I don't feel like playing Salamander on MSX. because Nemesis 2 needed to be plugged into the port the whole time for me to get the good ending. So, yeah. So instead, I'm just gonna play Salamander Enhanced! Only for MSX2 and higher. Because this hack actually fixes one of the biggest problems that were in the original. That's right, the game has smooth scrolling! Excitement! A fixed ripple laser, different palettes,
3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
and voices! Pretty cool. But of course, the most important thing is that we can actually get the good ending, as this hack actually puts the Nemesis 2 ROM inside of Salamander. So what exactly is the point of having Nemesis 2 plugged into the second cartridge? Well, you see, Salamander actually takes graphics data from Nemesis 2 to build the final level. And in order to reach this final level, you must collect all 3 of the secrets. Though personally, only one of them actually makes sense. Remember earlier when I was telling you about how the final boss, you need to shoot the right chord to reveal the weakness? Well, one of these secrets actually tells you which one to shoot.
I sure do wish I knew that!
Thankfully, with this handy-dandy information, we can finally give the planet lattice justice! If only we weren't in so much danger.
Danger. Danger. Danger. Danger.
Blow Blubberbees! Let's go! Now, after beating the boss correctly, we actually get much more upbeat ending music. And this time, Operation Crush Blow System actually works! Yeah, what she said! And that's that. That's Salamander on MSX. And if you don't like the choppy scrolling of the original, I highly recommend playing the patched version here. It's definitely worth the time, and most importantly, the music is amazing! And also play this just because it's actually a very unique experience, unlike the arcade ports. And even then, it still doesn't explain why the terrorists are called Salamander. Ah, it's whatever. Yeah!